Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I am your host, BMR. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday afternoon. Thank you for coming on in. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot, Michigan Rob on YouTube. Share me out, give a thumbs up, hit the alert bell, leave a comment. Joining me in Studio B is my lovely co-host from the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, KRISTA Tweedy. I'll be bringing her up shortly. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Aunt Selene for that. If you like what we have to offer you and would like to help support the channel, the Super Chat is open. That's a great way to help support what we do around here. That is greatly appreciated. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check out our YouTube About pages for scheduled events and activities. Once again, thanks to everybody for coming on in. And speaking of scheduled events and activities, as you all know, on Texas Front Porch, he comes on Monday, 9 o'clock in the East. On Tuesdays, it's Beyond BMR. You can find me 9 o'clock in the East Tuesday night, along with Tex. Wednesdays, the Diva Dimension, 9 o'clock in the East on Texas Front Porch. Back here on Thursday with Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. And tonight, every Thursday, you can find KRISTA and Brandy. Please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. They're on every Thursday at 9. Also, if you need a little more woo with the booze, you got the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo, 9 o'clock in the East Friday night. Tex is doing something called Infamous Minds that comes on Saturday, 3 o'clock in the East. Go check out Tex and Diva if you're into true crime. Saturday, my buddy Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, Saturday and Sunday at 10 in the East. She is, of course, the Cryptid Huntress, and you can find her, of course, on her channel twice during the week as well. We've got a great show in store for you. I've got Barry Littleton coming on. I think Barry is experiencing some technical difficulties, so no haste with that. We'll just wait for Barry to get it all together here. But with that being said, I'll bring up my lovely KRISTA here from the Blondes and Booze.
Hey, how are you?
Well, fancy meeting you here with your new computer. I'm glad everything is working so far, eh?
So far, but I don't like the picture, so I don't know. I'll have to do something with it.
Well, you're looking pretty good. You're looking. You're one of your hair. Your one hair on the back left is a little flyaway.
Probably.
Yep. You just got it. You just got
it. See, that's the problem. It's too close. You can
I
see
can
the
pick out
flyaways.
I can really see the details now.
Right.
We'll okay, everybody. She looks fine. I don't want to give you a compliment.
I did brush my hair today.
Yeah,
Washed it last night, brushed it this morning. So
yeah, you do look lovely. You look fine. So I'm glad you got some new equipment. Your other equipment was good though, right?
Yeah.
Is there a story behind getting a new computer or anything like that?
Well, I'm getting a new job. So I my work computer is what I had been using, and I'm holding it hostage because they're not paying me my vacation pay that they owe me. So until they pay me my vacation pay, I'm holding that computer hostage. And I told them that.
Yeah. And they'll get you your vacation payout because they want that equipment back. They don't want to buy a new computer.
Yep. Yep. So.
Yeah, I did something like that similarly a long time ago at some job I had. And I did the same thing. And sure enough, I got they owed me back pay, not quite vacation pay, but kind of the same thing anyway.
Yep. I still had like 8 days. And they're not paying me for it. So, well, when they do, they can have the computer back. If not, I got 2 computers.
Yeah, there you go. It's always good to have a backup computer.
That's right.
I've got this laptop that I was using for a couple of years doing these streams, and it just ended up losing its data. I mean, you couldn't process the shows, right? Because it was always lagging. And I still have it plugged in. I haven't opened that computer in probably 8 months. I wonder if it even still works.
It probably would.
It probably does.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check into that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Barry's our guest. I think he I don't know. I got several messages. Barry's always good about showing up. But let me ask you though, before we get started with this,
Hmm.
there's a video. It's all across the web. I found it on my Facebook group
Hmm.
page, the Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob group Facebook page, and you got one as well.
Hmm.
Boy, so there's a video about a Bigfoot in Colorado.
Yep.
And when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And I kind
Right.
of
Me
tried to
too.
zoom in and I was a little excited. Then I did some further playing around with it. And I tell you, I just told you about it. You just looked at it. I'm not going to
Yeah.
give you my opinion just yet. Maybe we'll get Barry's when he shows
Hmm.
up. What was your initial response to that when you saw that video?
When I seen it, I was like, "Oh, holy cow! Wow! They captured a
Yeah.
Bigfoot." However, the commentator and the person that is recording the video, it's like, "Oh, look, there's the infamous creature." I'd been like, "Oh my god, holy crap!" I'd been, freaking out over it, and just not excited enough for me to believe that it's actually legit.
If I'd have seen my first initial response seeing that was, holy cow, this looks
Right?
cool. And you brought up that point to me about, yeah, the people that were shooting that weren't all that excited.
Not at all.
It's
You
almost,
know, and everybody that I know would be like, "Holy crap!" And you
oh,
could hear it in their voice.
I would be off my rocker. I mean, I'd been like, cool.
Right? Me too.
So I was, so I was going on a couple other shows earlier because a lot of people were talking about that,
Hmm.
and they kind of had the same vibe. And a lot
Yeah.
of people, though, I would say that more than half, I would say if there was 50 people in the chat room, because I was on Eric Paranormal Highway. I was kind of watching him
Hmm.
earlier, and I think he put up a poll that the people that he had in chat, 70% thought it was, fake, right?
Hmm.
And I'm kind of thinking myself that that was kind of made
Yeah.
up. Now, if it was, and you can't, I mean, you can see the picture or the image of the Bigfoot,
Hmm.
and I got to tell you though, it was one of the better costumes, at least, or I
Right.
mean, it kind of had some cool elements about it.
Yeah. It caught my attention until the guys started talking. You
Yeah,
know.
now that you mentioned that, I've got that same vibe going on right now. And
Hmm.
here's the thing, and we had a little discussion in the chat room. The thing, first of all, is Bigfoot to most people. I was just watching something on the news because, in fact, on my local news, they brought that video up too. So it's kind of a
Hmm.
viral video. And the
Yeah.
people on the news, they're laughing, they're joking, this is fake. But here's the thing: if in fact this is a fabrication, it kind of peeves me off because there's so many people out there that have seen a Bigfoot. There's
Yeah.
so many people that research Bigfoot. They know
Yep.
they exist. And once again, I mean, ufology is kind of taking off. Way more people believe
Hmm.
in UFOs and aliens than Bigfoot, right?
Yep.
And the thing that holds this community back, when I say the community, not necessarily chat or YouTube, I mean researchers and experiencers, again, a joke, right? And so
Yeah.
for us people that are trying to spread the word, people that do the research, it sets us back. For every step you take forward, you take another step back.
Yeah. It ruins it for everybody. The people that fake these videos and because people don't know what is legit and what is not, and if someone actually really captures something really good, it's in the back of all of our minds, like, is this legit or not? Because there's so much fakeness out there. And not only in like Bigfoot Dogman videos, I feel the same with like ghosts and UFOs, all of them, you
Yeah,
know?
even for you, I mean, and it go and for you, I mean you're into paranormal research, and for you,
Hmm.
for every time you put on cable TV or whatever you use to watch television, if you do it all,
Hmm.
for every one good ghost hunting show, there's probably 15 that you just look at and say, "Man, what are they even doing on the air?" And
Right.
again, that hinders you and what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, your
Yep.
initial what you've been doing.
Yeah. That's exactly. And like as far as like the big TV's shows, I have several friends that are on several of the big TV shows, and you know, there's a lot of fakeness to it. And so for those TV shows, I take them with a grain of salt. It's all for entertainment. However, you know, a lot of these YouTube, there's one YouTube ghost channel in particular that I am like all about, and I watch every one of their videos. And that's one of the legit ones, because, you know, just how they investigate and what they do, to me, that they're the one and only out there that is legit. But it's they're on YouTube. They're not on the big TV shows, you know.
Oh, now you're really big. There we go.
I didn't do it. You did.
I know. I'm saying hi to everybody in chat, listening to you.
Yep.
And so I hit the wrong button. But yeah, you're right though, because you know, because I remember before I even believed in any of this stuff, I did find the shows entertaining. But I was always, as a non-believer at the time, but I've always believed in things. I've seen ghosts my entire life. I'm like, yeah, it just held my interest. But then I'm thinking, for the most part, I would think it was kind of, you know, they're just looking to get ratings on television.
Absolutely. And, you know, I got to tell you, I'm real good friends with the Kling brothers, who did Ghost Lab years ago. They were one of the originals back when Ghost Hunters started, and it was them, and it was Paranormal State, and then the Kling brothers with Ghost Lab. And Brad and Barry, their show was canceled because they wouldn't fake the evidence. They would not, you know, allow any of that. So their show was canceled. So I respect people like that. You know, they were in it for the research, not for the dollar. And a lot are in for the dollar, but you know, it's entertainment and people watch it and they fall for it.
And the thing about it, if you're doing it for the dollar, a lot of times these people are found out eventually. If you watch enough of these shows, listen, I tell you, I will tell you this. You know, Bigfoot expert, that the newest Bigfoot one it's got the Dr. Maya, I guess, and other actors. I find that show entertaining, but I just don't believe it. I don't, you know. I mean, I heard that they're not in the middle of the wilderness like they portray. I heard that they're all staying at a Holiday Inn, half an hour off their site when they're supposedly,
I've heard that too.
When they're supposedly 50 miles. So me personally, I don't not watch it because it is entertainment and I like the subject. So, so, but again, that's kind of a shame, you know. That
it truly is, because it's bad for all of us who really do go out there and capture the real evidence. But you're afraid to put it up there because people are going to cry it's fake, you know, because that's what they're used to seeing.
Yes, it is. Hello, Channel Warhorse. So I send out my highs to everybody in chat. I'm going back and forth here trying to get a hold of Barry. Barry Littleton's supposed to come on. In fact, he was booked a while ago. So, and we'll see. I understand he might be having some technical problems. But yeah, and I'm not here to talk down on shows because guess what? I watch them and I get entertainment value out of them.
I will tell you, if I can throw a plug out to them, the best paranormal YouTube channel, if you guys are wanting to see legit stuff, is the Foreman Brothers on YouTube. Go and subscribe. They're Paranormal Nightmare, and they're known as the Foreman Brothers. It's three brothers that go in and help people with negative hauntings, and their shows are fantastic. Like every Friday night, they release a new one. And on Sunday, my Sunday consists of, I watch the new Small Town Monsters, because they always come out with something on Sunday. And then I watch the Paranormal Nightmare one every Sunday. That's my routine.
I tell you what, those are good shows too, as well to watch. What I like too about the Small Town Monsters, what I like about I really like the Alaskan Sasquatch. I like when they go to Alaska.
Agreed.
I tell you, everybody listening, even if you're not into, I know everybody here is, but I tell people, if you're not even into Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or any of these things, the videography, I mean, Alaska is so beautiful.
Yes.
The mountain range, the woods, the whale. I mean, this guy, Alec, right? Alex, he does
Alex
Petikoff. He does a great film job because he catches the whales. I mean, it makes me want to go to Alaska, like right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's definitely promoting Alaska. I agree.
I think because when I thought about Alaska, since I've never been, I just think, whatever. But but now I watch all sorts of things on Alaska, and I definitely going to put that on my list of places to visit. I think.
Yeah, on a bucket list. Agreed. It's beautiful, and just like you said, even if you're not into Bigfoot or Dogman or any of that kind of stuff, just to watch the show for the views is just phenomenal. They do a great job. And by the way, we do have Seth Breedlove tonight
Yeah.
on Bonds and Booze, Small Town Monsters. Just let everybody know, throwing that plug in there.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, throw that plug out. 9:00 tonight, Thursday nights, 9 East, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast.
Yep.
That will be a great show.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We were actually fortunate enough to meet Seth at the Gatlinburg Bigfoot conference. So super nice guy. And we asked him and he didn't even hesitate. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And we had him scheduled previously, but he had a family emergency and we rescheduled for tonight, but he is confirmed for tonight. So.
Well, we had Barry Littleton confirmed for today. He's having some problems over there, I imagine, because Barry he's been on like the show 4 or 5 times, and
Barry's a nice guy.
He's a great guy. I love Barry. I love me some Barry.
Yeah,
and he's a wealth of knowledge. So we're just waiting for him. But so I was telling you guys, my neighbor, he a couple months ago, he asked me what I did for a living and all this. Well, I said, well, I'm kind of, I owned a bar, sold a bar, and this. I'm kind of half, I'm half part, I guess retired. But I hate saying that word because I'm always working, right? So I told him about the YouTube channel. He says, man, I'm into that stuff too. So a week or two later, you've heard part of this story. He came over and he showed me these prints, a track of an oversized dog. And where I live, it's a big horseshoe community, and there's a river or a creek that runs from all the way from where I live all the way to the Detroit River. It expands about 8, 9, 10 miles. And he showed me these oversized dog prints. And I'm looking at, but the unusual thing about these, KRISTA and everyone listening, there's 3 long talons in this picture. He's got the photo. I kind of wanted him to like share it to me so I can post it. But he's kind of like, I don't know. I don't want my family seeing your show or just by chance.
Yeah.
I said, well, I keep it all in anonymity.
Yeah.
So he's a little reluctant, but I see this photo, and I tell you what, it's hard to scale it as the size of it. So he and I had gone down there a couple of weeks ago and scouted the creek. We're walking along the creek. And I told my buddy Duke Sullivan about the 3 talons, and he says, man, you got to look out. It sounds like a gugway, because a gugway is the face eater, right? It's one of these cryptids that literally will kill you. Okay.
Oh yeah. That's all they want to do.
No regard.
Yeah.
And a Bigfoot don't even want to mess with that, right? Because they are mean. And I'm like, yeah, I said, there's no gugway in southern, southeast Michigan. He goes, well, Rob, what are you talking about? You're walking along waterways. It goes to the river. And, because I heard a lot of these gugway were in the north, predominantly, AKA we're talking about Alaska.
Right.
So we're exploring this creek, and on either side of the creek, there's a wood line. And the wood line along this creek is 30 to 50 yards on either side. And the creek will go from 8 feet to 12 feet to 10. It's got twists and turns. Then we come across the area where the picture of the print that he showed me. And of course, the print wasn't there because this is months later. So we go up another 10 or 15 yards, and we found all these obscure tree branches. There was twigs. There were thicker branches, and it looked like somebody was covering something up because they were all interwoven.
Wow.
And so we're looking at this, and so we kind of move these branches around, and we pulled the branches away from what it appeared to be covering. And do you know, KRISTA, that there was about a 3.5 by 4 foot hole, which was like a tunnel. And if you look down, you can see that it was a tunnel that was buried and went on. Now, of course, we had a flashlight. Now we're looking in the middle of the day, so you really couldn't see inside it. So he brought this big light, and we shined it in, and you could see how the cave kind of opened up, but then it was kind of more parallel to the creek line. So it kind of turned. So I was talking with Duke. I said, I had to call my buddy Duke about this. I said, man, what do you think that was? He goes, that's some sort of cryptid. There's no bear where I live. A wolf doesn't do that. I mean, bears will make a tunnel just for hibernation, but it's not a tunnel. It's just kind of dug out where they can sleep and cover it up. And so, yeah, I'm excited. We're going to go back and a little bit later in the month and really check that out when it gets a little cooler. And
How
so,
close is that to you?
well, the creek again is 8 to 9 miles and it leads to the river. So we hiked about 30 minutes from like where I live.
Hmm.
So 30
Wow.
minutes up the creek.
Wow, that's kind of scary to be that
That
close
is,
to if
that
it in fact
well,
is a
if
gugway
yeah,
or something, you know.
yeah, I'm thinking it's got to be something though, right?
Hmm.
And just not too long ago, I told the story about I was getting because I always walk this creek, and I stopped. I came up to this bridge. And you know how Jason McLean always talks about pterodactyls. He saw a
Hmm.
pterodactyl, right?
Right.
I'm looking at. I'm walking, and I'm at the bridge, and I look down this creek. Now, this creek is very close to my house. This is like 5 minute walk,
Hmm.
and I seen this bird, quote unquote bird, and it wasn't like we have no flamingos here,
Right.
pelicans. We're not, it's not Florida.
Right.
But I seen this bird flying. I seen it from the rear end, and it's hovering about a foot above the creek, and these long legs with big talons on the end were hovering just atop the water, like he was looking to grab a fish. But the wingspan on this, and again, this is the same creek where the tunnel with that print of the
Hmm.
alleged dogman is. The wings, and this is about 8 foot worth of from one side to the other on this section of the creek. The wingspan went out a good. It was very close either side. So this is a
Hmm.
6.5, 7 foot wingspan. This
Wow.
thing was dark brown. I saw it from
Hmm.
the rear end, so I couldn't see the head, and it was just gliding. And of course, I don't have my phone on me. And if I would have gotten my phone out, it would have been a crappy picture. I'm anyway because it was moving pretty quick. So I was thinking to myself, what the hell bird? The only thing I could research and find was that turkey vulture.
Yeah,
But
that's
then
what I
I
see.
but then
Vulture.
I researched that too, but there's no turkey vultures in the state of Michigan.
Really?
So it just got me to thinking now what was this? So I got two unidentified species
That's
lurking
interesting.
lurking within
Yeah.
30 minutes of me. So I'm really geeked about having a possible research site right in my own backyard.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Be careful though.
Well, yeah, I know. But
You know,
you
it's
know
kind
you
of
don't
close to home.
but since it's by the house, I'm not going to get any, nothing's going to happen, right?
Okay.
I can go out by myself.
I
I can
think we
pull,
hear that all the time, don't we?
well, that's good old text. Yeah, yeah. I won't be the last man in line.
Right. Nope. First and last, you don't want to be, right?
And I'm getting a text from one of my sources. Yes, this is from my lovely source sitting in chat. I'm not going to give up her identity. Barry's 2 minutes out. He has had technical difficulties, so Barry
Awesome.
Littleton will be joining as promised. And I was just bragging the other day, Chris. I'm like 98% with guests
Yeah.
as far as showing up, but none of them ever canceled because they forgot. It's always technical stuff going on.
Right. Yeah, and it's hard to, when guests have even ourselves because we've all been through it, with the technical difficulties. It's
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We have, even during my own show, your own show,
Mhm.
Brandy. I see
Oh yeah.
Brandy. I think Brandy popped in chat. Hey,
Yeah, I
Brandy.
did see Brandy briefly. I think she's on her lunch break at work. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that happens. And with my computer, I usually glitch out once a show for maybe
Yep.
a minute. And I always got and it's not because of my computer. I think I have to get a new. I found out the source of my problem. It's my camera, my video camera needs, I think, replacement. But it's kind of BS. It's only 12 months old.
That is kind of BS.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, did you buy the warranty, the extended warranty
Well,
for it?
the camera was only $30. They wanted 15 for the warranty. I'm like, this
Yeah.
should last me a couple of years. I mean,
Yeah, you would
I
think.
only use the camera for shows. It's not like it gets worn out.
Right. I know. That's weird. That's real
So
weird.
so yeah, I'm probably gonna but we'll see. Just knock on wood, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
and for those of you while we wait for Barry, I just reminds me about for those of you that have purchased my book, Bigfoot Mission Represents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. That's my name covered up because I got my little scrolling thing going down there. Thank you for those of you that have bought it. I do greatly appreciate that. Very humbled by it. I'm excited. It's doing pretty good, I guess, for my first go around. You can find it on Amazon, and I think I dropped the link. I think I pinned the link at the top of the chat here. So cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks to those that have bought it. You know, Christmas is just around the corner, and it's I priced it inexpensively. It ain't $20. It ain't $15. It's only $12.99. And if you like to read ebooks, and I don't like ebooks myself, I'd rather read a book. It's $9.99. So very fairly priced. And thanks for all of you that have went out and bought it. I do, and of course,
and it is a good book. I've read it.
Thank you.
It's a great book.
Thank you very much. And the artwork is by Jason McLean.
Yeah,
who helped me out with
great
that.
Job.
Yeah. And so I'm very happy with the artwork that Jason did, and so far I'm pretty happy. It's I don't know if it's doing good or bad. I'm not a bestseller yet, but you can't.
Well, it's only your first book. Come on now.
We all have to have high goals, KRISTA. High goals.
That's right. You got to shoot for the top, right?
Shoot for the moon and expect, the stars, I guess, or vice versa.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you got quite a few people in chat. A lot of new names I don't recognize.
Yes.
Several.
And if you're I've noticed that for those that are new, please subscribe to the channel. And I hear a pop.
Yep.
It must be Barry. Yeah, I'll let him get adjusted a little bit here before I bring him up. I gave him enough time. We'll just bring him right up.
Hello.
Yeah, he's still messing around. I'll put him backstage till he's ready.
Can you hear us, Barry?
Yes.
Hello, Barry.
Hey.
You need a couple seconds to get everything organized?
No, that's been going on for the last 45 minutes. I think that they've got everything running. I'm here now. So you can hear me, right?
Absolutely. I can see you.
Okay. If I disappear, you know what happened, but I don't think so. I think it's stable. So I should be here.
Yeah, you look stable. You look like you're a little teed off. I get it. You know.
I apologize. I don't used to that and all this other stuff going on, but I'm here, man. So
yeah, well, you never have to apologize, Barry, because you always show up on the shows, and we can't really blame. We can blame it on technology, not you. I'm not blaming it on Barry.
Yeah, maybe if I was a little more skilled as a technician, like Doctor Who, it wouldn't happen. Well, he fixes the TARDIS every day, doesn't he?
Well, I'll tell you my skill set when it comes to technology: power button.
Well, sorry to join late, but it's a pleasure to be with both of you.
Yeah,
it's good to see you again, KRISTA.
Yeah, great to see you.
Yeah, and I was singing your praises earlier. You'll have to watch the replay. I love Barry, one of my favorite guests. He's kind of a regular. He comes on at least every 3 months. And we didn't really have anything specific to talk about. But I'm going to ask you this, and thanks for coming on, Barry. I'm glad everything's straightened out.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Sorry.
Did you get a chance? Me and KRISTA started the show. Did you get a chance to see that video that's gone viral about that Bigfoot in Colorado?
Just before when this all came back up, I just saw that advertised here. It just came across my feed. I haven't got to look at it yet. Is it good or is it?
Well, me and KRISTA give you our takes briefly. We already spoke about it. We'll make it brief. I was excited at the onset, and then something told me that that's not real. Now, KRISTA's got even a better, and that's just my opinion, brief opinion, but KRISTA's opinion, I think, you'll like hers a little better than mine. And KRISTA.
So my opinion is, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's a great video. It looks great. However, the commentator and the guy that is videoing, he's like, oh, it's the infamous creature. His voice is just, there's no excitement there. So you, myself, anybody else in chat would have been like, oh my God, look what's out there, freaking out about it. He was not.
Yeah, and then I rewatched it after she told me that, and the guy kind of nonchalanted it, like, oh wow, I think it looks.
Yeah, it's like he's passing a cow out in the field, Yeah.
Yeah,
so
little too emotionless.
No emotion. Yeah.
And we all know how hard it is to get Sasquatch on film.
Right.
They know what film is. They know what cameras are. I kind of tend to think that I've heard before, they not just can hear them and see them, but they can smell them, smell the mechanics in them, smell the human scent on them. And another reason they can't be, caught on film. I remember when I met that gentleman, Tom Powell, and we're standing there. Somebody's taking these pictures of us. And the older lady taking the picture says, my brother says he's got these things, or my cousin or something says he's got those things on his property, and that they're causing him a lot of price on his chickens and stuff. And he can't even see them, let alone know how to get rid of them. And Tom looks at her and says, "Oh, tell them to put up cameras. They'll be gone." Just like that. And I'll tell you, I started laughing so hard. Everyone's looking at me. I said, "I'm sorry, that's funny." He said, "It's true. You put those cameras up, they'll be gone. They won't come around."
They're not stupid. They're intelligent creatures, for sure.
Yeah, if anybody asks me, "Hey, Rob, how do I get rid of a Bigfoot on my property?" Put up a camera. I just got through. I like listening to those accounts they have right now, especially like Bigfoot case files. I think it is that lady. Can't remember her name now, but she put one out a couple of days ago, and it was a clan of Bigfoot saved us from feral humans. And they start describing this incident of being out camping somewhere out far, going off the trail too much, and running into these feral humans that had bones around their neck and teeth around their neck, and being hunted by them, and that the Sasquatch came out and basically saved them, then took them to this cave, and then they heard the sound again, and these feral people were trying to surround the cave, and the Sasquatch went out there and killed them all. Wow. It was like a war. It was very fascinating, and I can't say necessarily it was absolutely true, but it makes you wonder, because later on the story talked about how the park ranger was saying, "Oh yes, we have the feral people that are out here and they're very dangerous, and you've got the Sasquatch, but the Sasquatch are different. If they're near you, they're just going to hide, but these feral people will kill you. And if we get people coming out here, they're going to hunt the Sasquatch and not the feral people." So a park ranger had told this to somebody?
Yeah, it's on Bigfoot Files. The exact name of that episode is a Sasquatch, a clan of Bigfoot saved us from feral humans. And on YouTube, I posted on my YouTube channel or my YouTube page probably about 2-3 days ago. It's on there.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, I am too. That's interesting.
Yeah, now that thinking about that, Barry, if I was in a state park camping or whatever, I'm not really scared of the Sasquatch. I'm over my encounter, right? But if someone were to tell me there were feral humans roaming around, that would be more scary of a thought than an actual Bigfoot or Sasquatch, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I've always heard that feral humans connected to missing 411 and other things. And when you go out, personally, I'll just be honest with y'all, okay? My testicular fortitude, I'm not really the camping guy that much. So I kind of enjoy modern conveniences. But I feel like when you go out there to the park, the national park, it's definitely not your Joyland or your amusement park. You can't leave your kids out there alone running around or anything like that. That's a dangerous place, not just the animal, but it's the people.
Sure.
And I found, you wonder why Sasquatch is so, when I had picked up that telepathy from that elder out at that ranch, and like I told you in text, Rob, I can't prove that it was this Sasquatch doing that, but it was doing a heck of a good imitation. Okay. And the first thing that came through was I picked up emotions, visuals, as in tell a thought, picture, tell a picture. And then also I started picking up words. Telepathy doesn't always come in with words, mostly not, especially when you deal with animals. I was getting words. And the first words I was getting was because, I'm sorry, I don't sleep at night. I was out there watching that Mount Adams at 4:00 in the morning from 1 to 4. Nobody's out there. Feel like I'm being watched out there. Then I got to walk back to the yurt. It goes down by this blasted chicken coop, and there are trees down there. And I kept feeling like I'm being watched all the time. And so I just turned off my flashlight and I just said it out loud, and I said it telepathy too. Look, I'm from the Midwest. I said I want to have some type of encounter, but that was just talk, okay? The truth is, if one of y'all's 12 feet tall and you stepped out of the trees on me, I'm going to freak out, so don't do it. And then I look up, I'm standing there, basically what appears to be thinking to myself, talking to myself in the darkness, and I felt ridiculous, so I go on in the yurt, and then that's when I started getting the telepathy. And the first thing that comes through is, don't worry, it's against our law to be seen by you.
Wow.
Really?
And
Now, when
when
you say telepathy, just really quickly to clarify, when you say the telepathy, you either get it through words, or you also get it through vocalization.
Well, for me, normally it comes in with feeling first.
Okay.
Feeling and emotion, and then I'll pick up like telethought, pictures of some type.
Okay.
And like in the case here, this thing was a much stronger telepath than I. Okay, and it initiated the communication. It's going on. It sends me a couple of pictures, and the last thing I had seen was, I feel ridiculous saying this, but it is what it is. At the end of back in the 80s, there was that song Jump by Van Halen. Remember that? At the very end of that guy, David Lee Roth, basically does a backflip for no reason at all. And in my mind I'm seeing this, like a 12-foot Sasquatch doing a backflip real fast.
Really?
Albino Sasquatch. And it says, and I don't have a limp. Well, I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah. And
I found out later, like listen to Meldrum and other people, they start finding some of these perhaps older Sasquatch have this indentation on the track that shows they have a limp of some type. I think MK Davis has a video called the Sasquatch or Bigfoot fighting in the garden, and it's where the white one and the black one are pushing each other to try to get to those tires, and then the big one comes out and they just take off. The one he calls Tall Paul. Well, Tall Paul was above that barn, and that puts him over 12 feet tall. And he had some type of a limp too that MK pointed out. So do Sasquatch grow until they die? It's interesting food for thought, and there's so many different types. Who knows? And we want to look at really laboratories. Is Earth a laboratory? You've got a prime example right there. And so much work I've done with our friend Jessica Jones, I give her these blind targets. Bless her heart, because to me, that sounds very unfair. It seems unfair. She has no idea to know what the, HE double hockey sticks, these 8 numbers are. And she nails it really, really good every time. So these are things, that come up a lot, these underground laboratories, again and again. And we start looking, I'm not a religious man, but if we look at things like the Christian Bible and things it says about the giants that once walked here, others cultures that talk about, how we have basically ancient aliens mating with humans, and all of these things going on. But these laboratories, these genetic experiments may have just started for humanity recently, but it didn't just start for these beings. And this stuff's been going on for millions of years here. And now you've got these weird hybrids, these weird cryptids that are coming up and just appearing and then disappearing. And it's fascinating, but it's also very dark and very, very evil, in my opinion.
So do you think that inner Earth exists, and a lot of these things might be coming from inner Earth?
Yes, but my opinion of inner Earth is not what we hear so much. I think the Admiral Byrd thing just dominates the view of inner Earth. But during my early experiences, I would ask these beings questions, and I wouldn't always get answers, but sometimes I would, or they'd be so fast you can't comprehend them. You got to really try to remember what they just downloaded to you, But I was shown the Earth actually looking more like catacombs, having these catacombs. And inside these catacombs, sometimes are cities and bases. And also they made reference to the deep biosphere, which I didn't know what that was. Yeah. And the deep biosphere is kind of like it's deep, but it's also like another ocean that contains over 90% of Earth's bacteria, and I think probably fungal components also. And the fungal component has been very intricate in my personal contact experiences with what we would call extraterrestrials or interdimensionals or both. But a lot of their technology comes from mycelium. That's one of the components that's made in ship construction. So, food for thought. And it's amazing. People, when I first said this 2014, when I came forward, I got laughed at quite a bit. But I'll tell you, now look, NASA's using mycelium they're saying they're going to use mycelium housing on Mars and on the moon. And before that, not long after I started talking about this, they started using mushrooms and compounds to actually fix inner structures in cities, like bridges and eroding things. Yeah. So that's a very real deal. And the fact that fungal mycelium is aware and is alive is nothing. So when you have an organic ship that comes to this planet, although it may look metal because it's got metal components in it, it's going to be using the earth, the tree system, as a communication. Look at the symbiotic connection that mushrooms have with trees. So, if you want to look at a natural internet, and I think that movie Avatar, sorry, I don't quite have the patience to see the second one, but but the first one, I noticed that they emphasized that a lot, the tree network of that planet. But I think that's going on here on Earth, definitely. So these are just things I think in the contact modality that need to be expanded. We look at these things instead of everything being SSP, everything is mind control, everything is targeted individuals. That happens, yes, but there's a whole bunch of us that have a different set of experiences that doesn't get the media coverage that it should. And that's been proven by Ray Hernandez's work with over 4,000 experiencers.
Wow.
It's kind of fascinating that you bring this up because I've always thought, and I would say within the last 2 to 3 years, it's cliche to say that the forest is alive. Well, of course it's alive. There's animals, there's trees, grass, brush. But if you think about what you just said, the network, the internet of the earth, especially in the dense forests, right? These roots of these trees that have been on earth for hundreds and hundreds of years, all blending with other roots of trees, expanding miles, acres of land with the grass, the mushrooms, every herb, everything that grows, they are in communication with other man. They are. And I think that the forest people, the Sasquatch, whoever, whatever term you want to use, they use this for their communication. We often find, and I believe the trees are a source or a portal. I don't know for a fact, Barry, but I tell you what your thought on this. I think that Bigfoot can emanate and manifest out of a tree. I think they use the entire forest as a travel system.
I 100% agree. That's another thing. I always bring this guy's name up because I'm sorry, Sasquatch affected my life, although I never even saw one, but they were doing things that affected my life. But Tom Powell was the first one that told me that when we were talking. He's kind of, he talks, he's very, I don't know, kind of dramatically talks. Yeah, Barry, they live in trees, Barry.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? You mean they're like arboreal? Because I'd heard about them living in the redwood forest that Sasquatch live in these canopies. Those canopies, those trees are just huge. Right. And if they climb up these trees and they have homes up there, they live in there. And there was a tree I saw that was, it was smooth on like the sides. And they say it's from the Sasquatch climbing up it all the time. So I thought maybe that's what he meant, but he looks at me, he says, no. Well, I said, well, what do you mean they hollow out the trunks and they use those as cabin, like Gilligan's Island or something? He's like, no, that they symbiotically can merge with the trees. And, some people, when they say you hear certain truths or things, it's like 1,000 rushing waters in your ear and it stops your world. It's one of the things that stopped my world. And I started thinking about it. And now when dealing with this nuclear DNA of Sasquatch that we don't know what it is, where it comes from. All right. So that meaning that, when looking at these, I started really researching it and hearing different things about a lot of people seeing them manifesting and materializing coming out of trees. And there's a couple pictures of that. You see like a Sasquatch head coming out from a tree that is too small to support it to hide behind, And then I heard that when they actually use the tree as a portal, as you mentioned, Rob, or manifesting, that pop that people are hearing sometimes, this knock, is not always just them out there slamming trees. It's them emerging and materializing and manifesting with the tree, and it wipes the tree out. So they can only do that with each tree like so many times before they have to leave it alone and give it time to recharge and regenerate, I guess.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. We all heard about the tree knock. That could be a lot of people think a Bigfoot smacking their arm or their hand on a tree or picking up a big stick and hitting a tree. That really could be, and we don't know this, right? But that could really be them popping out from the tree into that part of the forest.
I did a video about probably a couple of years ago now, and I got 6 months ago, Spirit pushed me to put all my Sasquatch videos that are hiding on Patreon on YouTube. So they're all there. But, I did a comparison between Sasquatch and what in Europe they call the green man. And there are a lot of similar characteristics there. And mind you, this is just one type of Sasquatch probably that's doing this. We've got all these different types that, are even more than the ones we're aware of now. So, I mean, who's to say which ones have these paranormal abilities down to the ones that look more like the chimpanzee type? Right. I'd heard before that they don't have paranormal. They're more like really creatures, more like monkeys, actually. And, I think Jessica did a target. It's not one that I'd given her, but she had seen these Sasquatch. She kept saying, but these ones, they don't have any type of paranormal abilities. And she described them as being more the chimpanzee looking ones, the hostile ones. There's, so it's just food for thought. I think that we can't put it all in one basket, all the eggs in one basket, but there's something going on with some species of Sasquatch in the trees, and then, when I had the experience with this squirrel, which is, from Tom Powell telling me to put, when I told him these Sasquatch were putting these rocks on my doorstep or whatever, and he's doing these things, he made me put this, he put these eyes in a big, it's like an oak leaf or something, and a mouth, like just a hole, these holes. He said, why don't you put this where that rock was last year and see if anything happens? And sure enough, things had happened. He's telling me things like, somebody like you, Barry, maybe Barry, you should grab a trash bag, go around the forest and pick up trash. You'll get their attention just like that. You will. I was like, okay, I gotta look this guy up. Let me go do that, buddy.
Yeah, me too.
You always talk Tom Powell. Does he have a video where I can see him speaking? That's just,
Type in. It's spelled like Thom, like the guy from Buck Rogers, THOM. Yeah, but
like he's on Tom McCann.
Yeah, he's on YouTube, and I don't know how much he's doing now because he had some gentlemen come out and play a big hoax on him, put on these suits and trying to run around his property and trick him into thinking it was Sasquatch, and really not cool, I mean, if you're going to do a whole production just to trick somebody who's trying to understand a phenomenon, it's like, what, so.
Well, just like me and KRISTA talked about this earlier today about that alleged Colorado Bigfoot sighting. And okay, I'm going to go on the side. I'm on the fence that it's a hoax and not real, but I got to tell you, Barry, and it's really so much more with cryptids and Bigfoot mostly, right? Ufology has come a long way where many people believe in aliens or UFOs, vast majority. If you went to Kroger and did a poll, talked to 100 people, 60% or more will say they believe. Same poll, same Kroger, you might get 20 people. They'll tell you, hey, man, I'm here to buy beef jerky at the Kroger, because it's a joke. Right. And again, these people that put these hoaxes out, man, doesn't it kind of irritate you? It's that for every step forward, Barry, with every hoax sets us back, and we all look like the joke. We're certainly not jokes. We are into what we do. We're experiences. We know they exist. We don't believe, we know. Even KRISTA now is part of that, as she knows now.
Extremely frustrating. There's that one video went around a couple years ago, and it's looks like Harry and the Hendersons in a cage. Yeah, and it's like that. Like that obviously was like not real. Barry, so it's a Sasquatch. They finally caught one. Come on. Stuff like that, just a couple of days ago on Dr. Phil was this brother sitting up there with his mom talking about he's a robot from the year 2050, come here to talk about the AI, to talk about the apocalypse and all this other stuff. And he's talking kind of like this when he's talking. Man, it was ridiculous. And it demeans those of us that are having real contact. There's a point where we've got to watch these fields because the fields of ufology, paranormal, cryptids, they're like a moth to flame for those that have mental illness liars and delusional people. Okay. And those that, just plain hateful and hate people. All those three people are just really attracted to these whole fields. And I will say openly, I've been speaking now for a while. This will be my 14th conference coming up. And and I've done a lot of work with a lot of people now. And some of these people I won't deal with anymore. I mean, they're not good people.
Yeah.
And then they do these things, and it's not cool because you got cool people like your audience people here who I salute. And I'm sorry for being late, but really good people looking for answers. Just people like us that have had all these experiences. I've had a ton of them. And when I talk about it now, it sounds cool and all chronological cool, but it wasn't like that when it happened. The whole thing is, and you've got to really try to isolate what's happened to you. It's happening on a different frequency, and it's just a whole nother thing going on.
Sure.
So I want to commend you both for doing the work you're doing and keeping it real. It's important.
Thank you.
Well, Barry, I thank you too. You're one of my favorite people. You're knowledgeable. I like you as a person. I like your research and everything you bring to the table. I'm glad that you got your technical issue taken care of. And with that being said, we already got to take our 5-minute break, but we'll come back with more with Barry Littleton. And go subscribe to Barry. I think your channel is just Barry Littleton, right?
Yeah, no, I don't have any cool handles or nothing.
Yeah, well, Barry Littleton, you're a cool dude in your own right. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and KRISTA. I saw early trick-or-treaters sneak in at my door, and then they disappeared. So we'll see if the treater comes back to my back door. You know who you are. Thanks for everybody for joining the show. Barry Littleton joining us. We have a fantastic show going. Don't forget, on Mondays, it is Texas Front Porch, 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesdays, Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East. Wednesdays, the Diva Dimension, 9 in the East with Diva on Texas Front Porch. Thursdays, right back here with Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. Thursday nights tonight, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast. They got a great show tonight with Seth Breedlove from Small Town Monsters joins KRISTA and Brandy. Tune in tonight. They'll be fantastic. If you need a little more woo with the booze, you got the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, Friday nights at 9 in the East. Saturday, back with Texas Front Porch with Daniel Diva, Infamous Minds, 3 o'clock, Saturdays in the East. My buddy Jessica Jones, Space Style Radio, 10 o'clock at East, Saturday and Sunday. She is the Cryptid Huntress, and she's also has 2 shows on her channel throughout the week. And yours truly will be on Jessica's show tonight. We did the remote view on Dogman Island back on my show a couple months ago. Y'all love that. Well, you're going to love it again tonight because we're going back to Dogman Island tonight on the Cryptid Huntress's channel tonight at 8 o'clock. So be sure to check that one out. Thank you to everybody that participated in Super Chats. Super Chats are a great way to help support what we do around here. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate everybody for buying my book, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters. The link is pinned. Thanks so much for those that have bought it. If not, hey, Christmas is coming. Be a great stocking stuffer. With that being said, I'm bringing up KRISTA and the wonderful Barry.
Hey.
Hey, welcome back.
I'm still here. Okay.
Yeah, you're still here. You know, I was wondering.
Sweating it.
You know, that's
hey, KRISTA, please give your husband a shout out for me. I really like to.
I will. I will. He liked you too.
He taught me about the buffalo flies. That's a story I have to tell everybody where I live now. Horrible creatures. Goodness.
Maybe we can squeeze that in the buffalo flies, eh?
Also commonly called, I guess, scientifically called black flies. But they're also called buffalo flies, and I want no part of that. No part of them.
Your story. For those of you that don't know, my husband and I went and had dinner with Barry and Jessica Jones here a while back, and it was in the spring. You guys were at a conference over in Illinois, and we had dinner on the river, and those creatures were evil.
Yeah. I never seen when it's warm like that. I was relegated to hoping that those swarms were just gnats and not black flies, because man, I've got marks all over my body from that. They're biting people through their jeans. Never seen anything like that.
They're awful.
So the buffalo flies, is it something that I want to add to my buffalo wings, Barry? Is that what we're saying here?
No, sir.
Love you, and Chad says they got some bite.
Yeah, they do bite and they hurt.
Yeah, they hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And people are wearing bug repellent and still getting bit. So that's another creature there.
Yeah, they're bad.
The Mississippi doesn't play, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
You know, I was mentioning our trick or treater. I saw Tex was in the backstage, and I know Tex is back on days, and I know he loves little Barry. I don't know
What's
where
up,
Tex
Tex?
went. Yeah, he's hanging here, hanging here somewhere. I don't know.
I seen him too, and then I look
Yeah,
up
I'm
again,
like,
and he's gone. I'm
you
like,
know,
where'd you
I
go?
made the joke at an early trick or treater. So
Yeah.
Tex, if you're out, obviously you're welcome to pop in and say hi to Barry because I know Tex is a fan, just like I am. Krista, we all love you, Barry, and
Oh yeah.
No,
I
thank you.
really,
Thank
you
you
know,
all. Really
Sure.
I
appreciate that.
I got a lot of good people come on our show. So do the Blondes, so do Tex, but we all just love us some Barry. I watch,
I
you
hate
know.
technical problems or whatever. I owe you one. If you want me to come back, I'll come back.
Well, you
Whenever.
know you're coming
Quick.
back.
I mean, really quick if you want, because I feel bad, like I let you down. So, just let me know
Barry,
the date. We'll
You
do
can't
another one. It
control
can be
the
really quick.
internet.
you can't
Not
control
your
the,
fault.
like I said earlier, technical issues happened. You did not let me down. You
Right.
showed up, and I knew you were coming on. I knew it had to be something because
Mm-hmm.
you're not, when you make a commitment, Barry, you make a commitment, and I
Yeah, I
appreciate,
take it pretty serious.
yeah, I know you do, man. So I knew it had to be something. And
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about these hoaxers putting out these videos like that Colorado one that I'm suspecting was a hoax, and I said, hey, look, we're all knowers, not believers. Myself
Mm-hmm.
now, it's had a Bigfoot encounter now. Sometime she spoke on that, Barry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were talking about too, then we were talking about the people that say flesh and blood versus, and I don't want to say the woo, but paranormal. You always mentioned, and we talked about the living network of the forest, the trees, right? The grass, the herbs, the mushrooms. To me, again, we're talking back to the last segment. It is it is like the internet for these cryptids and any animal. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that the trees are alive, and I think they are a source of energy for Bigfoot and other cryptids to come in and out of. But you also mentioned too, Barry, you talk about frequencies and things of that. Do you think that when we're talking frequencies, that these cryptids are on such a higher frequency level, that's really the reason why we can't see them if we walk them, or just the forest and the trees, the people of the forest? You could be talking about with fairies, things of that just are helping Bigfoot conceal itself with this big network that we have in the forest.
I think also vibration has a lot to do with it as well.
Vibration.
And just our ability to actually perceive these things. But I would say that, like, for example, the encounters I've had, the type of beings I was dealing with were much higher vibration, to a point of where it created, I've talked about this before, it created, when in their presence, in their biofield, it creates something that the gurus and swamis call Shakti Pat, which is where you start getting, like, it's like your chakras are released, you're having a Kundalini release, and you're getting like enlightenment being in their presence.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see how during history, how some people would think that that is a godlike quality, but in reality, it's some type of a biological thing going on with their biofield when we get in the field of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, and in that way, that I can't say that a lot of these cryptids would have that type of a feeling. You know what I mean? That type of a higher vibration to that degree. But there's something else to take into account, especially like with Sasquatch, that gentleman that wrote, what's the book? I Fought the Apes on Mount St. Helens. Can't remember his name. Ape Canyon, that story,
Yeah.
the guy that wrote that book. And really, I mean, it's like 15 pages. But in there, he made very specifically how he shot a Sasquatch and dropped it off the thing, and they never found anything, and how there was this metaphysical property to them in terms of manifesting beings. That's what he kept calling them. They're manifested beings, and sometimes they don't manifest until they're near humanity, and that they're using the morphogenic field of humanity to manifest. And that's very interesting to think of, the amount of things that have actually imprinted on this planet, that have walked this planet and are imprinted and almost appear as sometimes phantasmagorical images. So I mean, I'm not saying that is all Sasquatch, but I think it is also something that feeds into what we're experiencing too, because we're really just beings of perception,
Yeah.
like a tree communication said, hey, it's not that our existence isn't that bad. We're stationary beings. All we do is perceive and respond to stimuli.
Well, Food for
You
thought.
Barry, I gotta tell you, KRISTA says food for thought. When I first met you, Barry, you've been on many times, and I follow you all around.
Yeah,
You know what I find? You know what I catch myself saying in shows now?
What's
Food for
that?
thought. Food for thought. It's like implanted in my brain now. So I'm sorry, I'm not stealing that line from you.
No, it's all right.
Okay?
I didn't invent
But,
it.
it's truly, and this whole field we're all in is food for thought, is it not?
It's something that I think that I've heard you mention, I've heard Jessica mention it, and other people, and I agree, is that like even Sasquatch encounters and whatever, these are all things that are pushing our consciousness forward, one person at a time, to maybe try to raise the vibration of this planet. And we've got devices that are in certain mountains here, like the one at Mount Adams. There's a device in there called an ore station. And I had Jessica look at that too, blind target, and she saw it. And it's this device that actually is scanning people's soul or life memories. And then, like, let's say, for example, I had to be very careful about this device. Like, I'll use Mount Adams because there's one in there, but I think there are others on this planet. But that one was like, okay, so it scans your life memories, and let's say you haven't seen a Bigfoot. So it dispatches this orb technology, and an orb can be almost minuscule and get in our biofield and affect our perception. And it generates something that pushes you forward. You haven't seen a Bigfoot? Here you go. You're one of the people out there saying, I saw a Bigfoot walking across the field and it just disappeared. These orbs, that orb technology is very serious. Whether it come, and all the way down to where sometimes, like as it's been described to me by John Vivinco, another remote viewer, and I found it fascinating. We're sitting there talking. He talked about how some of these portals on the other side, you've got literally thousands or more of beings trying to squeeze through all at once. And those that actually do come through and get through emerge on this side in orb form in collective consciousness. It's something scientifically that during the transition from there to here that causes that. Now, that's not the only reason for orbs, but I think it is one, definitely. Another one is that we have ships that are being used for intergalactic travel, beings that can actually morph their dream body, their energy body into a spear and use that for interdimensional travel. These are things you really have to take into account when dealing with all these things, these weird stuff that is, what does he call it, Rob? Woo woo. I'm just kidding.
We have the woo woo. But Rod Moorhead now uses the term the woo woo, and if there's a guy that's more respected in the field, it's Ron. And again, Ron told me 30 years ago, Rob, if you brought up the word woo, I'd have turned around and sent you home. Today, I'm not so sure that it's not a part of the woo.
Yeah.
I was talking to this guy, I think his name's Tim Moody. This is like several months ago, and we were talking about orbs. And now he's big time. He's more so in the ufology than cryptids. But he was giving me his theory that these orbs are plasma shields surrounding a mini spacecraft that come down from the mothership, and they're out in our forests kind of investigating the land, right? They're looking for an area where they can plant a seed and develop. Now, whether that sounds far-fetched or not, I don't know, because to me, aliens have technology far superior than ours, so I wouldn't think they would have to send out a scout. But what's your thoughts? I found it very interesting, though, that perhaps they do have. Yeah.
Well, he's onto something in terms of high energy plasma. All right. Okay. High energy plasma, you have also a lot of craft that are actually designed that. You have some craft that are actually entities that are high energy plasma. And, when dealing with the crop circles, again, I'll bring up our friend Jessica Jones. One of my threw at her another blind target was those plasma balls that we're seeing making that UK crop circle. There's a couple of videos like that, but this is the first one where you can see there's like 4 of them. One of them comes down and then goes back up. And another reason why Patty Greer got mad at me is I said, I don't think they all come from the earth. They're not the earth chakras. Some of those were coming from the sky. So anyway, but when dealing with higher energy plasma, not just as beings and as craft, also, and at a point when I've heard that sometimes some of these crop circles, other things were, this is the hypothesis that they were markings for time travelers as well, like time markings as well. And that what you have, that these plasma balls are actually humanity when humanity evolves beyond this physical container, when we start becoming energy beings, and at a time when we can't reproduce anymore like this. And are they coming back to get genetics when it's still vital and things like that? These are all things on the table. You know what I mean? And giving that, you know, that puts another perspective on some of the plasma that we're seeing. Are some of them humans from the future?
Wow.
Well, I guess we won't be human anymore, but
Yeah.
what was humanity from the future?
Do you think that maybe we are humans from the future, aliens from the future? I heard this Tim Moody told me that he says that we are from the future, aliens from the future, humanity.
Well, we know Homo erectus or Homo sapien has been evolved several times in ways that doesn't make sense. And if you wanted to compare us to quote unquote Sasquatch, we're sure not suited for this environment. I mean, it takes very little to kill us. Very little.
True.
Yeah. Let's see. Any of us just going barefoot and go trot across the mountains. It's not going to happen. You're not going to make it, or a couple of miles. I mean, it's not, you know. So it's things like that that really I think are very important. You know, when you mentioned Ron Moorhead, and, you know, I haven't read all that book. I've only seen parts of it. Is Quantum Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But everything I saw him saying was really, really on point, I thought. You know, and when dealing with the other paranormal aspect of this, as far as these plasma coming down, doing what the gentleman said, I can't say that that's not one thing going on too, but I think you've got a lot more going on just that, because you've got every indication that this planet is a laboratory, you know, and you see all these things coming up. You know, I had talked about the quote unquote organism 46B, and I given that to Jessica as a target. And I think maybe she got razzed over it a little bit because somebody said
Barry, really quickly, you really do overwork Jessica.
You know, she's a friend. It's essentially, and I give her much credit because my friend.
Of course, I'm kidding.
I had this new post. I said, I'm not working with anybody in this community anymore. I'm just on my own. My experiences were on my own, so I will. I'm talking because I've been burned. I wasn't gonna work with anybody, but you know, she came along and she's got a good vibe. She's in it for the right reason, and I'll work with her. I enjoy it. So
now, of course, I was kidding, Barry, but yeah.
Oh, I know, but I mean, seriously, I think that, you know, just the same reason I work with you. You know, saying that I like where you're coming from, and you're not in this for the ego and for fame and all that. So I mean, that. First of all, these fields don't pay nothing, so I don't know how anybody's getting rich in it unless you're really lucky. And two, I
had my 13. Go ahead, Barry.
No, go ahead, man. What's it?
No, I was just gonna say I had my 13 minutes of fame at the bar, man. I was the most popular guy on the block.
At the what?
When I owned my bar, that's where I gained all my fame. Everyone loved me, right?
Rob, will you pour drinks for ghosts?
Yes, indeed. You heard that story, right? You heard that story.
You know, actually, you know, a lot of your stories are really cool. One of them is, I don't mean to jump around too much here, but your story about your Sasquatch encounter. And what really struck me about that, amongst other things, was that at the end, towards the end, you were saying how you saw it, make sure I got this right, you saw it go in the forest, but it was so fast that you thought it might have come in the water and it could have popped up on you.
Well, yeah, when real briefly, I didn't see it go in the forest when it had its Bigfoot, its humanoid form, right? A very, I always say Down syndrome looking type of beast, creature, human, covered in all that beautiful reddish brown hair. But then when it manifested into what I always call a demon, then I got the yelled, screamed, and roared. And when I got this Duke Sullivan say I got hit with a sonic blast, then all of a sudden time slowed down. I saw through a lens. Everything was black and white to me. And this thing just looked like a devil. The girlfriend, you know, Cindy, falls in the water. And then I looked to get her. But now when I turned back, it was gone. So then I don't know where it's at. Is it swimming underwater? Where is it? which scared the hell out of me because I could not put my eyes on it after I regained my cognizance, right? And could now clearly see again. It was
Mhm.
very scary. Saw in black and white, a filter, time stood still. And this thing was there in human-like form, then beast-like form, then boom, into the water. Where is it? Jettisoned all the way back to the area and docked the boat. That was scary as hell, not knowing.
Mhm.
See, when you can see something and you know where it is, okay, you have a sense of, okay, I'm in
Right.
safe distance. But all of a sudden, when it's gone like that, and I think it bootlegged back in the forest. When she fell off and I looked, I think it just went back in the forest myself. Now, thinking back,
Right.
You know, I've heard so many reports, especially the Alaskan ones, about Sasquatch swimming and being in water and how they go underwater and they can hold their breath for unreal amount of time and swim on when it's seen swimming on top, how they don't appear to be using their arms. Heard a lot of very interesting things, you know, to the point to where I did a video about it and I called it Sasquatch and swimming. And, you know, I actually got a death threat over that. Somebody sent me an email from a bogus email address. I turned it in, but they said that I was stealing information from other people in terms of the idea of Sasquatch swimming, and I need to be murdered.
now,
You
come
know,
on.
yeah, I
Crazy
mean,
people out there.
yeah, there's a lot of that. These trolls, they're a trip, but we keep
Mhm.
going on. But
Yeah, no, we
nonetheless,
go on.
I think them in water, and then again, like there's certain things about them, their ability to swim. Okay, what is it with the crawling like spiders thing?
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that
Yeah.
several times. The walking like spiders, to you know, I mean, all these things that they can do. You know, when I say that thing about this elder put in my mind doing a backflip, something that caught my attention on MK Davis. He's got the video that's called Whitey's Run.
Mhm.
And he's got two versions of it. The second version is de-blurred with extra whatever technology or whatever. But you see this thing at the beginning, it's bending down like a cow. It appears to be almost be the size of one of these cows. Then it stands up, it walks over this tree, and it does a, what do you call it, backstand against the tree and then flips back. What is that? Why? I mean, so when I see something like that, the Sasquatch doing that, what I know that was put in my mind wasn't just crap. They're doing stuff like that. And then you see this thing tear across the field so fast. Another thing, what is it with the speed? I've been hearing accounts on Bigfoot case files again about them being clocked running cars that are going 50, 60 miles an hour. Now, to me, when I hear that, you know what it reminds me of? A lot of when the birds, you ever had the birds on the highway fly with you like they're trying to beat you? Yeah, I mean, it sounds a lot like that to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just weird or crazy, but I'm seeing like a connection there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
My brother does, he's like the cable guy, the fiber optics guy. And he told me he had a lady that told him of an accountant that they had at their Colorado ranch. And she said she didn't believe in Sasquatch, but her kids kept telling her that those things are running around there. And one day they're leaving, coming back to town or whatever, and they're going, there's like, she said that there's a bridge on a road leaving it. And this thing the Sasquatch comes out of the tree line, fast as heck, comes over, and I guess they're driving like a Clark Griswold type of, what do you call it, a station wagon?
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I see those things. Chevy Chase. Anyway, it jumps over the car and hurtled it like the way an athlete would do a hurdle. But when it lands into a somerset roll and rolls out of it and just gone in the forest.
Wow.
And she said that she told my brother it was nothing else just to show off its agility.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I got to tell you something here, and I'm not. You talked about the spider crawl, right? Of Sasquatch that you've heard. Now, I don't normally, this is in my book, and this is what I was talking to this guy. He told me this story. And of course, Brandy will tell me, Rob, don't tell your stories on air. Make them buy the book. Well, I'm going to give I'm not going to give the entire story, but now that you brought this up, it resonates with what I was told and spoke with this guy about. This was actually in the Porcupine Mountains of the Upper Peninsula, and this guy was out looking for Sasquatch. Okay, and he come across a trail, but he had to hack through this trail, hack through it. It was very overgrown, very dense, very deep in the Upper Peninsula. You came across this cave. Goes down into this cave. Now, the cave, when I say cave, you guys, it's not an underground cave. It was strewn about with the forest, and it made like a tunnel. So if you look up, a little bit of the light would come in, but on either side was a wall, and it was covered, and he traveled this thing for a while. Then he came across a dead carcass of a deer. Then he smelled this foul stench. So he gets past the deer. He keeps walking. Now he thinks he can see at the end of the tunnel, he sees daybreak. But now he feels something's following him in the tunnel. And when the man turns around, he sees this huge figure, right? And it was kind of shady. Some sunlight's blending through the walls of this cavern or cave. And he starts to run to get the hell out of there. And he looks back again. And it looked like a huge, gigantic spider, at least 4 foot wide, on all fours following him. And this guy is petrified. He's scared to death. And he finally breaks it to the end of the tunnel, hits daybreak, gets up. He's in this big meadow, and there's a tree line now in front of him, and he runs towards this meadow. But then he stops, runs out of breath, says, man, it's going to get me now. I hope it's not back of me. But when he turned around and looked back at the entrance of this cave, where that big spider-like thing was, standing there, he said it was a humanoid figure about 10, 12 foot tall, looking at him. This is in the up north, Upper Peninsula, Porcupine Mountains.
I mean, let me throw this at you. Would you tell me that story, as traumatizing as it would be for us or for the individual telling you, but from the other side, doesn't that sound like somebody playing a practical joke?
Oh, hell yeah.
And I hear that a lot. They come up to scare people, and they see people flip out and fall down. And they say, then it looks like they're grinning, but not the way a gorilla grins. The gorilla grins, it means something like they're going to get you. When a human grins, that human DNA, it's a whole other thing. And they're laughing at people, coming up every night just to scare the heck out of people, then taking off back in the forest. That's what we call it a jokester. I was listening to one of those stories, and I think this is one I was talking about. The lady kept calling one of the Sasquatch the jerk. She kept, that's like Steve Martin, the jerk, because he kept coming out scaring her all the time, and then she look up in the window, and there he is to go like that, and then she's,
right.
Yeah, and even more than just a joke, it seems like something that a juvenile would do on top of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and again, yes, we've all heard the pranksters and the hoaxes and the jokes, but when this guy told me this story, there's no way that was a hoax or a joke. Now, the story, I believe everyone's story. I've never walked in their shoes, just like my story, frankly. People take her to leave it. But, when it comes to the Upper Peninsula, I will say this. Much like the Pacific Northwest, it's so vast. It's very unpopulated. I'd love to spend a few months out there and just hanging out researching, because it's just, there's places there that is untouched. And outside of just Bigfoot, cryptids, Dogman, do we really know what's lurking in these forests, especially places that man has not been in 100 years?
Watch those portals.
I was going to say the thing too, Rob, maybe it wasn't joking with him with the spider. Maybe it was playing on his fears.
Yeah, there we go with the paranormal, the supernatural aspect as well, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of beings that feed on negative emotion. We know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have some inorganic beings that start off as negative thoughts in our mind, and then generate that, whatever you want to call it, loose, whatever. But then they use our own pineal gland as a wormhole to get into this dimension. It's very real,
Well, there's a lot of weirdness out there.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
And
just humanity alone, right?
Possible.
And I got to tell you guys, what's cool about discovering this genre, this subject matter. Now, when you walk in the woods, I'm more cognizant. Your head's on a swivel. You look up, you look down. If you see something that's not right,
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if it's a portal or not, right? I mean, the missing 411. How many times do we hear about the last man in the end of the line is always the one missing,
Yep.
right? Did they veer off trail and walk into a portal?
Yeah.
We talk about Bigfoot coming out of using a tree as a portal, and I believe that there's all sorts of pathways. What about those people come across the ladder in the middle of the forest that they say you're not just there,
Not
a
supposed to
ladder.
go up the
You're not
ladder.
supposed
Yeah.
to.
The
What's
stairs.
up with that now?
I've heard stairs too.
I've heard that. I've heard that people coming up on ladders or just a stairway in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I'd be going back the way I come, but that's just me. I'm not going up that thing. You know where it might lead. And
Right.
it's and I think getting now our science. If you look at stuff like what MIT is saying and Duke University, check out what some of those astrophysicists are saying. I mean, they've gone past do portals exist. They're talking about ways of trying to find out ways to weaponize them and to control them.
Yeah.
That's scary thought too.
And I won't mention our friend again, but another blind target I gave.
Yeah.
Weaponized portals.
Yeah.
And the data coming back, the first she's telling me, what is this with the sun? Trying to control the sun. Oh, I didn't expect. He said, I didn't expect that. So I get those targets and I get more than I expected, more than what I could expected to bite off. And it made total sense. I've always said that the Earth is a portal, or I'm sorry, the sun is a portal. And what we call cold spots are actually dimensional voids that these craft are using. And if you get on something like the Soho website, you can go in the archives there and look at every so many minutes it takes a picture of the sun. And you can go back in the data on there for like years. And you can also look at the different nanospectrums, the green nanospectrum, blue, orange. They've got these different nanospectrums. And what you see coming in and out of the sun is amazing. One of them, and it's even on YouTube, you can pull this up. People started recording it. You can see one of these Earth-directed solar flare being diverted by something that looks like a cube, a very large cube. And I don't think it's the Borg. But anyway, that's a corny joke. Sorry, but seriously, sorry, Star Trek joke. But the cube, it seems to be deflected. And that. So you're seeing that how when you have actually a Type 4, Type 5 civilization that is using not just the parent star as a power source, but also space itself, and these makos, these black holes. And that's what we're seeing a lot in the sun activity, amongst those beings that can actually exist in the sun. Some say once you get in there, it's not hot. I find that interesting. Not saying that's true, but who knows?
Yeah.
Really interesting.
It's the wave particle as it comes here, the wave that creates a lot of heat that we get as light comes here. So,
we've all heard. Yeah, I mean, this reminds me of something too. Talking about the sun and these portals, these black holes. You know how it's very mysterious how the pyramids were built, right? How could these pyramids, Giza, how could it be built? They had no technology. Men could not, today's engineers cannot design a Egyptian pyramid with our technology. Then I came across something interesting. Now we've heard about ancient aliens the aliens helped build these pyramids. And then I came across another theory. I was watching that's what I do. I watch late night geeky shows on YouTube, right? How the theory was that one of these pyramids came to Earth from a black hole and landed in various spots of Egypt. Now, I thought a black hole you could get sucked up in, but it was a vacuum, but not an experimental element. Where would it exude you?
All right. Black holes actually can be called MECOS, MECOS, which stands for magnetically eternally collapsing objects. And Rudy Shields, the one that did all that work with the observatories and collected the data. And what actually the black hole is, this MECO is actually the mechanism inside the black hole that holds the data. The mechanism holds the data. And what you have is that actually, as things go into the black hole, as you're talking about, attracted in there, it goes through, it creates a let's say this crystal goes through, okay? When it goes through, it creates a perfect copy on the surface of the black hole that they call the quantum hologram. And the quantum hologram is stored wrapped around the Mako, okay? So that would look a lot like the accretion disk in terms of, so when you have this wrapping going on, the inside wrapping would be what's currently going on in the universe, all the way to the outside, which would be the beginning, okay? So in that way, the black holes, the Makos, are the hard drives of the universe, storage of information.
Okay.
And, you know, we hear so much about the Akashic records. I say this all the time. People, oh, I work with the Akashic records. Cool. But really, what are they? They're the records of space and time. Do we just know that because Edgar Casey said that? You know what I mean? That's the first time I'd heard it. But in reality, these Makos are the hard drives. They are the Akashic records. And I've talked about this before, so I don't want to be too repetitive. But when dealing with these Makos, okay, they operate also on conscious waves, quantum conscious waves, which are quite similar to brain waves. All right. And our bodies, we've got these things called microtubules. Okay. And for what I'm talking about, specifically the brain microtubules, and we have something called the mirror neuron network, which is me describing this to you, how you're seeing it, similar to the grab, release, reflex thing. Okay. But also the mirror neuron network is quite similar to what I just described, the quantum hologram and the Mako. Okay, so if we're going to access these Makos, it's done consciously because the microtubules that I described occur two ways in our brain, helical and spiral. So spiral wise, we can access the energy, the information from these Makos. And the speed of thought that somebody got upset with me because I couldn't quote the exact experiment that Rudy Shields was talking about, but he had coordinated with something with the proton mass and the electrons and things going around it. Some experiment they did that proved that the speed of thought, nearly when dealing with quantum entanglement, is 100,000 times the speed of light. So that's the way we would access a Mako. Like you could think of it right now and almost instantly be there if we're on that frequency. So that is very important. And when dealing with these craft, okay, and these civilizations that may be type 5, 6, that are no longer even in existence, but you know what? They still exist in that Mako. They still exist in that Akashic records, and they can access us through the divine field and through our brain waves. That's why this is very, very important when I talk about that right now. The media just saturates people with reptilians, grays, anal probes, all that stuff, mind control. And look, that is happening. I'm not taking away from anybody's experiences. I've met people that are dealing with that. I've had clients under deep regression. They start talking about this stuff and they're not even seeing me for that. You know what I mean? They're not even into this stuff. Okay. You know what I mean? So that very much real and is happening, but also that is creating like a brain entrainment that when you have higher vibrational beings, maybe even partially divine, trying to connect with you through the divine field and through these Makos, we're so saturated with negative encounters that we can actually warp the contact that's happening. We do have that much power. We do have some will. You know what I mean? And we change that, it suddenly becomes something negative. Well, perhaps it was not. The beings were not, but they can't overpower our own free will to that degree in that realm. So it's something to think about. It's very serious when dealing with the contact experience. And I say this a lot because the media does not emphasize positive contact encounters. It's the alien invasion, it's the mind control, all that stuff is hot. People want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the positive stuff.
Right. The
different modalities that come with the contact we're talking about here, the trees, the organic, these different things, you know, these beings that are symbiotically a part of this craft. Part of their DNA makeup is going in with these metamaterials with mycelium fungal components and then being grown over a small Mako, a black hole, grown in space. And right now, when they bind like glass, they bind glass in space, like for the president's windshields for his limo, they're like 3 times as resistant. It's like a Knight Rider type of glass.
Wow.
You know, so it's
Shout out to David Hasselhoff.
The Hoff, yeah. They said, I was watching the thing, his phone rings, and they say he answers the phone. The Hoff, hey, that's great. I was a fan of that show. It showed so much technology that's viable right now that it's unreal. That car had GPS, it had microwave lines on it, microwave jammers, a cell phone basically too in there, all those things. All the way down to, we could also say like Star Trek, the original. You know, I swear to you that Lieutenant Uhura and Spock, they're wearing Bluetooth. You see it right there. They got Bluetooth in their ears. Looks like honeycombs.
Actually, you do, man. Now you bring that up. There's so many shows we can dissect from way back when that is current today, almost like predicting the future type of thing.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Barry, how much of the human mind do we have access to? I've heard various percentages. Do you have an idea on how much of the mind we use?
Well, I mean, I can't quote the exact percentage, but I think it's a very small amount. Going along with everything we read and everything, but I think it's a very small amount we have access to. And I could say that even just based on the hypnotic work I do. You know, I came forward in 2014, but I wouldn't tell anybody until a couple of years ago I was a hypnotist. Didn't want nobody to know. It's bad enough my experiences got thrown out. But now that's brought me even more people to work with. And, you know, you see certain things. Like people don't, you know, sadly, entertainment gives hypnosis a bad name. Like it's going to be somebody with a pendulum going like this. Now you're under my power. And these people start doing stage hypnosis and stuff like that, looking like fools. But that's not really stage hypnosis, not real hypnosis in terms of getting problems and going deep. And really, it's just relaxation, guided relaxation. But something about it is that I call it, it seems to, once we get down to like deep theta, it seems to make us like the totality of ourselves. The subconscious and the superconscious records everything. And when we start dealing with that, we're dealing with soul life memories from immortal souls that we are. Yeah. So you start getting things of people talking about, you know, I'll give you one, you two. All right. So I'll do a past life regressions. And one type I do is called lives between lives. So you take the person back, they go through youth memories and they go back. They'll describe what it's like being in the womb, you know? And like one individual said, well, you know, this lady tells me that, you know, I'm in the womb. I said, can you move? They all tell you, yeah. It's like swimming though. And they'll say, but you know, my mom and dad are arguing a lot. And I have a brother that I don't think he really wants me to be born. I think he hates me. So I'm going to leave and I'll come back when things settle down. And I'll ask, well, where do you go when you leave? They'll tell you, you know what I mean? But they go back, you can take them back automatically during this process. A guide comes, okay, and takes them to a location that I call the place of translation and reconfiguration. And it could be a library, it could be a nature setting, it could be a garage, but there are always these books, ledgers. And the guide will pull out a ledger and show them this lifetime, what they're working on. They'll go through it. And then they incorporate this into their soul matrix. And then each one of the ones I've done, a bunch of them now, they all have a choice of where they reincarnate at. Not a one of them has told me, well, the light is forcing me to go over here. The light's forcing me to incarnate over here, or my guide's forcing me to incarnate over here. Never have I encountered that. And the reason why I'm bringing this up to you two is that I had one that, and some of these times I do these things, I'm just sitting back flabbergasted, like, I got to make sure I maintain a good session. But this individual's guide comes forward, and at first it appears to be a patch of hair. And when we extend that, it's actually a Sasquatch. And this Sasquatch was described as being over 10 feet tall, probably maybe closer to 12, with this uniform on. A uniform that was, I mean, it made like beyond Starfleet, man, you know, that type of a deal. And dealing with and then the place of translation and reconfiguration is a ship that is looking at the universes. And I know some of what they're saying is true because I've had experiences. And when you see some of these other universes, some of them look like shards of glass, broken shards of glass. And this individual is describing that, but then describing other types of universes. And when they get done, this chamber, this place of reconfiguration on the ship is a crystalline chamber.
Wow.
Okay, they get this, they're done with they're incorporating their soul matrix, and they're saying, well, now I can reincarnate in any universe I want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I started asking, well, what about the one on the left over there? And they're saying, oh, I've been there. In there, we exist as very large. We're similar to like amoebas, but we're the size of planets, like Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all aware on the conscious level. She said, it's a nice existence, but it's boring. I'm not going back there. I'm going back to Earth. I'm going to incarnate back on Earth, yada, yada, yada. I'm just sitting there, you know, I don't make the rules. I'm just listening, you know, but it blew me away. And when dealing with this type of Sasquatch, you know, the frame for humanity is supposed to be called the Adam Kadmon, is the quote unquote blueprint, sorry to get too excited, blueprint for humanity. And the Adam Kadmon. So what is the actually blueprint for Sasquatch? I think that's what she was dealing with, that level. See, we don't really know, you know, what is and I did a show with Brian Bland and Michael Harrell.
Pork and beans.
Pork and beans, yes, thank you. Sorry, man. Pork and beans, thank you. It was a long interview, but it was good. And Michael Harrell's been following me since I came forward in 2014. So it was cool talking to him. He's a trip. But, you know, during that interview, several times he brought up Sasquatch on spaceships, which we've heard about before, but more detailed, the ones that are happening in Colombia and in South America also, that whole area, that they're seeing these Sasquatch on the craft that are smaller, the smaller stature one. And he was just talking about that. So it's not as uncommon as we think, especially when we go back in time. We're dealing with when Earth was a type 1 civilization. We have pyramids coming through black holes or whatever, Rob, you know, we at that point, Sasquatch would have been part of this galactic trade thing we were doing. You know, when I hear something like, you know, again, buddy Tom Powell, they're just talking, you know, talking. And he says, well, you know, we went to go see at some tribe he named. He said there's a Sasquatch family there, a daughter, mother and father, but the father's like some type of alpha that's supposed to be 12 feet. He's huge. We wanted to see him. So they went out there and they start saying that, well, we haven't seen the male. We've only seen the mother and the daughter for a long time now. And Tom is with this gentleman. I can't remember his name, Randy or anyway, he was a medium of some type in telepathy. He said he could communicate with Sasquatch if he goes to certain places. So he goes to this place to communicate with the mother, and the mother says to him, oh, my husband's gone. The green ones took him to go work. We don't like the green ones very much because they put us to work. But when he's done, he'll be back.
Wow.
And I look at Tom and I said, well, who in the HE double hockey sticks are the green ones? And he looks at me. He said, well, my friend David Paulides wouldn't say it publicly, but he says it's the reptilians. Wow. Again, one of those minutes where I just kind of sit back and go, whoa. It made me think, because what could actually cause a 12-foot male Sasquatch that can literally take a cow and slam it against the tree and kill it? I mean, what is strong enough without technology to enslave them?
Mm-hmm.
And you put technology on top of that. Sorry, I'm going on too much.
Man. That's why we love you, Barry. KRISTA's got to take off. She's got a personal thing she's got to take care of. And you know what, Barry, we got to write this. I'm writing this down to put a pin in that because, of course, you know you're coming back on. And I like to have you back and do this again. And I also want to get into something about the human mind. You think, and we don't have to answer the question, something food for thought, as you would say, for the next show. Maybe we use 3% of our human mind. Do you think that the global elitists are fashioning it where they only want us to use 3% because they want us to be their minions in the future moving forward? I think that'd be a great topic to discuss for next time. Barry, when can we find you, man? Where can we find you?
Absolutely, I agree with that. And more reason why we don't have soul memories when we are born here. Anyway, on YouTube I got a lot of work on YouTube. Barry Littleton, please subscribe. Press the like button or the bell button or whatever so I can beat this shadow ban I've been under for a while. I'm also on Patreon under Barry Littleton. My website is barrylittleton.com. It's got links to my other stuff. I don't do much on there, but YouTube is the main one, and I'm on Facebook too. And I try to communicate with people that if I don't get too far behind. So.
Yeah, everybody out there, go you got to go to Barry's channel. Whenever I need a question answered, or if I want to find out something I don't know anything about, I always look up Barry. Truly subscribe to him. Thanks for subscribing to BMR and KRISTA. KRISTA's got a great show tonight with Small Town Monsters, Seth Breedlove. With that being said, she's got to run. Barry, man, fantastic guest. Thank you to everybody in chat for showing up with us. Subscribe, give a thumbs up. Barry, hang tight. KRISTA, I'll talk to you later. And as Tex would say, I got to find that old button.
You too. Thank you.
Good to see you.